In a picture-perfect neighborhood where silence passed for peace, one man broke the pattern. A retired federal judge, grieving the loss of his wife, made one simple mistake, leaving his trash out too long. What followed wasn't just petty revenge. It was a war over power, justice, and the soul of a community. This is the story of how a quiet man in slippers stood up and took down an entire system. In the picturesque neighborhood of Maple Glen, Oregon, time moved gently. Lawns were trimmed, mailboxes polished, and silence was sacred. To most, it was a slice of suburban peace. But behind the picket fences and HOA newsletters, something toxic festered, something Judge Emory Collins never expected to confront again after retiring from the federal bench. Emory was 78 and recently widowed. Since Patricia passed, the world had blurred, his days were quiet. He took slow walks, read old case files for comfort, and left her wind chime, the one she loved, hanging by the porch. It was the only sound that broke the silence at night. One Saturday, Emory left his trash bins at the curb a bit too long, 10 hours past the HOA pickup deadline. It was a forgetful moment from a grieving man. But to Nancy Whitmore, the HOA president with a clipboard complex and a thirst for control, it was treason. Nancy issued a $500 fine. The notice, complete with bold red font and passive-aggressive phrasing, accused Emory of prolonged curbside waste exposure. Emory read it once, twice, then calmly walked to Nancy's office. "I won't be paying this," he said. "It's not a law, it's a rule. And it will be contested." Nancy smirked. "Everyone else follows the rules. I spent 40 years writing the rules," Emory replied. "This one lacks standing. That should have been the end." But Nancy saw something in Emory she didn't like: dignity, the kind that couldn't be bullied, and that made her furious. She began what she called enforcement escalation. Citations followed like clockwork: weeds 2 inches too tall, mailbox paint too faded, unauthorized sentimental decoration. That last one, Patricia's wind chime. Emory removed it quietly, placing it in a drawer with trembling hands. Then one Monday morning, Emory received a notice of lien. Nancy claimed he now owed over $3,000 in unpaid fines. She was building a paper wall around him, one petty charge at a time. Emory didn't fight back. Not yet. But he started documenting. He read every line of Maple Glen's HOA charter. He attended board meetings, silent in the back row. He noticed patterns: who Nancy ignored, who she targeted. Single mothers, elderly couples, the ones who didn't fight. Weeks later, Emory walked into the HOA office to request a record of his alleged infractions. He was calm, courteous, but Nancy snapped. "You think because you used to be someone, you can disrespect me," she shouted. "I'm not here to disrespect you," Emory said. "I'm here to correct you." She struck him, right there, in front of 2 board members and a security camera. Her fist hit his jaw. He fell. His scalp split on the corner of a desk. Blood soaked his collar. Nancy didn't even flinch. That night, after getting 6 stitches and a cup of lukewarm hospital coffee, Emory called someone he hadn't spoken to in years, a former prosecutor he once mentored. The next day, the wheels began to turn. He didn't just press assault charges. He filed a civil RICO case against Nancy and the HOA board, citing racketeering, fraud, and civil conspiracy. He used his old network: retired judges, auditors, attorneys who owed him favors. What began with a trash bin became a statewide investigation. The findings were explosive. Nancy had been inflating fines. She funneled HOA funds through a shell company connected to her cousin's landscaping business. She selectively enforced rules based on personal grudges. Homeowners who pushed back were targeted. Some even sold their homes under pressure. In court, Nancy's attorney painted her as a misunderstood guardian of community order. But the truth spoke louder. Surveillance footage, fake invoices, dozens of homeowner testimonies. And finally, Emory standing with a bandaged head and a voice steadier than anyone expected. "I've presided over war criminals, federal embezzlers, and corrupt public officials," he told the court, "but I have never seen someone abuse power so casually, so quietly. It's always the quiet abuse that does the most damage." The judge ruled decisively. Nancy was convicted of misdemeanor assault, civil fraud, and misuse of HOA funds. She was sentenced to 6 months in county jail, ordered to repay over $120,000 in restitution, and permanently banned from serving in any HOA leadership position again. As she was led from the courtroom, she turned to Emory and hissed, "You think you won, old man." He didn't blink. No, Nancy, justice won. In the weeks that followed, Maple Glen changed. The HOA dissolved. Residents formed a new council with open elections and public oversight. Emory refused to lead it but offered to serve as an unpaid advisor. He also donated every dollar of his settlement to a legal aid fund for elderly residents facing abusive HOAs. One evening, a group of neighbors gathered outside his home. They brought food, laughter. Someone hung a wind chime back on his porch, the same model Patricia once adored. Emory didn't speak. He just stood there, eyes wet, listening to it sway in the breeze. Maple Glen would never be perfect. No place ever is. But for the first time in years, it felt like a neighborhood again. And at its quiet heart was a man who refused to be intimidated, not with anger, not with fists, but with truth.